Hey everybody, I'm Hugh Brownstone for Three Blind Men and an Elephant, and today I want to talk about this guy, Hasselblad's X1D. Call this episode 1 in a series I'm titling The X1D Has Me Thinking, and yeah, okay. The first thing I thought, the first time I held it in my hands was, geez, this is gorgeous, but enough about that for now. Instead, in this video, I want to lay out how I've decided to approach the X1D and the Hasselblad XCD 30mm 3.5, 45mm 3.5, 90mm 3.2 lenses, full frame equivalents of 24-28, 35-36-28, and 70-71mm 2.9 respectively, which Hasselblad was kind enough to loan me for this review. Now, no newsflash, I'm not the first, second, third, 10th, maybe even 20th person to do an extended hands-on review of the X1D, even though I was one of the first to get my hands on one at the official North American launch way back in June of 2016. I'll put a link to my conversation with Hasselblad's Paul Clayson, very nice guy, very knowledgeable guy, at that event down below in the Show More section. And there have been some great reviews of this camera since then. And by great, I mean informative, entertaining, inspiring, and at times painfully, appropriately, honest. From people including Buds, Chris Nichols, and Jordan Drake of the Camera Store TV, Matt Granger over at mattgranger.com, Steve Huff over at Steve Huff Photos. And there have been some just plain ugly comments about the camera too. In other words, unlike earlier reviewers, as the package marked Hasselblad Braun arrived at the Batcave, I already had a pretty good idea, as I'm sure you do too, of the basic strengths and weaknesses of the X1D system. Brilliant image quality, dynamic range, color, resolution, arguably the best software user interface design in the industry, at least I think so, outstanding low light performance, impeccable build quality, beautiful industrial design, incredibly compact dimensions, lightweight, and dramatically lower entry price into the Hasselblad system on the one hand, but slow, spotty autofocus, teething problems, especially in the software, limited native mount lens selection, absence of in-body image stabilization or lens stabilization for that matter, the absence of an articulable rear screen, indifferent video in the real world, and a staggeringly high price for anyone not used to medium format pricing on the other. And, of course, an increasingly competitive landscape as 2017 offered up the Fuji GFX50S, Nikon D850, and Sony A7R3, though even the mention of a full-frame camera in a medium format camera review will lead some people to scoff or stop watching right here. To which I can only respond, I understand. But if you're one of those people, I hope you'll consider suspending your disbelief, or at least holding that thought for now. So, the first question I had to ask myself for this review was, how can I add to the conversation around Hassie's first mirrorless medium format camera, arguably the company's most important camera of the last 50 years? Well, for me, the answer became simple enough. Knowing what I know, or at least what I think I know about this camera, I decided to figure out what it would be best at, do that, and then share my results and analysis with you in my typical Three Blind Men and an Elephant fashion. Hold that thought. In other words, and to explain the title of this episode, my first step was to determine for what precisely is the X1D ideally suited. Which also means that as I opened the box, I decided I would not think about price. Again, at least for now. And I wouldn't think, or at least try not to think, about all the things it didn't do. But the X1D had me thinking about other things. I thought about the first 35mm camera I ever held in my hand. The camera that inspired a lifelong passion for photography, the 1930s era Leica 3A rangefinder, because cameras, even difficult to use cameras, can do that. Inspire passion. I thought about the first medium format camera I ever shot with, the end of the 20th century era Contax 645, which gave me the worst case of gear acquisition syndrome I've ever successfully battled. Because cameras, even brilliant ones, beautiful ones, lusted for ones, can inspire cost-benefit analyses. I thought about the most recent medium format camera I shot with just a month or two ago, the 1970s era Mamiya RB67, because cameras, even big, slow, heavy, ungainly as hell cameras, can inspire an appreciation of and work around limitations. I thought about the black and white films, Panasonic X, Plus X, and Tri-X I shot, developed, printed, and first learned about photography with. The Ectacolor negative film I shot, developed, printed, and stepped back from as I realized, while still a teenager, that I did not enjoy the post-production process then, and preferred instead the simplicity and much closer match to my original intent of transparency films like Kodachrome and Ektachrome, and where something magical happened whenever I held those little cardboard slides up to the light. I thought about photographers who've made the best use of those cameras and medium film, from Cartier-Bresson with the 3A to Annie Leibovitz and Herb Ritz with the RB67. I thought about Hasselblad's origin story, rooted in a pressing need for aerial reconnaissance in World War II. I found myself thinking about the Braun Niso S56, a Super 8 film camera of the same vintage as the RB67, and how far we've come on the video front. And, okay, I'm going really deep and vulnerable here. I thought about the utterly horrible photo album taken by a professional photographer with a Hasselblad camera. Yeah. Horrifying. Finally, I couldn't help it. I thought about the Panasonic G9 and the Sony A7R III, even my iPhone X. But I quickly pushed those out of my head, synthesized my thoughts, and decided that the best use of the X1D for me, hey, most people, right, would be deliberate, pre-visualized stills with which I might consider covering an entire wall. Now, to me, that means product photography, location portraiture, architecture, landscape, especially, for me, urban landscape. Maybe available light photography, maybe even street photography, though the kind where you pick a spot, frame it up, and either wait for or create the decisive moment. You know, like this. For those of you not already aware, Cartier-Bresson is my favorite photographer, although my favorite photograph of all time is Arnold Newman's image of Igor Stravinsky at his piano. Yeah, this one. I think it's perfect, even as I understand that nothing's perfect, except this is perfect. But I also decided one category to which these criteria apply so well, fashion, would be a category I'd ignore, even if so many of my influences and inspirations like Penn, Avedon, Halsman, Seif, Horst, and Newton made their mark in it. It's just something I haven't done. Finally, for now. Yes, I know, not only do I know, but I took some heat a while back for asserting that the line between full-frame cameras and medium format cameras is really blurring, especially over this past year, especially when I named the Sony a7R III my 2017 medium format, note the air quotes, okay, camera of the year. I'll be looking at that in the coming days as well. So, that's how I'm approaching it. That's what you saw in the opening sequence of those Ferraris. And that's what you'll see in the coming days. My intent is to embrace the X1D for what it is, not what it isn't, and see where it takes me. And yeah, to my eye, those very first images are spectacular, though they'd be much better if I were much better. Now, 4K doesn't begin to reveal what's actually in those images, but I'll take care of that in upcoming episodes, and we'll have much more to say about these and other shots, along with a reassessment of what I thought I knew. Yeah, that's all for now. If you like what you've seen here today, please give a thumbs up, subscribe, join the conversation below. Always fantastic. You guys are an amazing community. Share, add to a playlist. Consider supporting our work by using our no-cost to you affiliate links, or even making a small contribution directly via the PayPal link, again, below this video. We thank you for it, as always. For 3 Blind Men and an Elephant, I'm Hugh Brownstone. See you next time.